One.
Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Women's Game.
Come on. We have a respectable guest today.
I'm just back from bronchitis.
You should have
respectfully
given it to me. I'm sorry. I'm quiet. Do it again.
Hello, you guys, and welcome to the Women's Game. Yay! You will never let me have it.
Kind of, because I had to point to the screen where this cave behind us.
You know what? No.
I am the narcissist of the group after all.
I need you to be humble.
I am being humble. I was quiet. That's humble enough.
Or you just doing it in spirit of friendship? You know that I was sick, and I'm still sick, but yet I came in to do this show with you.
I appreciate it.
I'm Jade.
And I will not, and thank you.
High five. Yes.
Introduce ourselves. Okay, no, I'm trying to
professional. Oh, wait.
Like, he's real. Like, he's a real literary, academic writer.
Our person has been, hold on, like, bring it in. Okay, let's go. Let's be professional.
Sorry, you came out wrong. Anyway, we have books.
Okay, we have books. See? I was going to say it. Wait, we have books. We are authors of books. And I thought series. And I thought the book, never mind, was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. And I thought I could juggle it all. And I thought I did my journey alone. And I thought I had it all figured out. A fiction episode 1. Hollywood, she does not need to be more famous. She's famous enough because I can't deal with the big head. And I thought he was the one. Haven't we all? You feel insulted?
Yeah. Keep going.
I feel insulted. And the new series, The Misfit Guys, a sassy sway that leaves crooked footprints, and we will have another book out in that series, probably July. Y'all don't hold it to it. You know, July.
We'll have it out. We're gonna have it out before our English, our European book tour. We will definitely have that book out.
Okay, or July-ish. You know, so that goes like August, September. You know, ish. We in that, and the 25 hottest.
We are the editors of the 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and advocates. And yes, that is Dr. Noah Charney. He's so adorable.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
We're being professional. And I thought the workbook. And then that's it. So you can find out everything your ladies are doing on andwethought.com, where you can also buy the book, or Amazon.com, or BarnesandNoble.com. And you can check out Just Right in Life when you go to andwethought.com, Channel 18 in Sacramento, or Amazon.com. Okay. It was a lot for a person with just getting over bronchitis.
You didn't have to say it all. I could have jumped in. All you had to do was be quiet. I mean, all you had to do was signal me.
Oh, anyway. Wow. But you guys aren't here to hear us ramble on and on. You're here to hear from our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey there. Thanks for having me on. My name is J.C. Hallman. I'm the author of 6 books, and for the last couple of years, I've been working on a deep dive kind of project about the guy who is considered the father of gynecology and the young enslaved woman who is considered his first cure and who is sometimes called the mother of gynecology.
This is amazing. Yeah. Okay, so he came on before, and so we thank him for coming on again. He came on before, and I honestly did not know that this was the book because I just read the thing about Guggenheim and the McKnight Fellowship. Anyway, we're going to focus because I'm going to be decently professional this time, Mr. Hallman. I promise. Are you? So can you please tell us about why the main decently professional just fell out the window. It did. Why the main subject of your research is kind of controversial nowadays.
It is, yeah. This guy, his name is J. Marion Sims, and there was a statue of him in Central Park for many years, a statue that stood there for 130 or 140 years, and I wrote an article about this statue for Harper's Magazine on the cover of the November 2017 issue of Harper's Magazine. And along with the efforts of many activists and poets and scholars who had been protesting this statue for 10 years, my article played a role in helping to have that statue pulled down just last month. It was removed. It was the first time in the history of New York City that a piece of public art was removed over concerns over its content. So he's the controversial figure at the heart of that project. And actually, there's more statues of this guy. There's another one in Montgomery, Alabama, and there's one in South Carolina as well. So the work goes on to try to correct the record as to what this guy did, and to divert the credit for what he did to the young women who were his experimental subjects. And the young woman I referred to, Anarcha, is for me a kind of symbol of all of those women. And I've been working to recreate her life story, dig into archives and libraries all over the country.
Okay, I have to give you a braggadocious moment. So this question is literally just so you can brag, okay? Yeah, show off. We love it here. Yeah, it's weird. Narcissist is letting someone else brag. So I believe that in your research, you found something that was missed by history?
Well, you know, what was amazing to me when I first got onto this story a couple of years ago was that it seemed as though nobody had ever gone looking for any of these young women, the women who were his experimental subjects and who were thought to be lost to history because they were enslaved women and there was no records kept and so on and so forth. And so just nobody tried. And so very soon after I heard about the story, I went down to Alabama and I started digging into archives. And I realized that you could find traces of her, that what this guy said about her, Sims, what he said about her, was not all that there was. That it was possible to recreate her life story in a way that an archaeologist recreates what a dinosaur looks like by, you know, finding pieces here and there and then putting them all together and making informed guesses as to what, you know, what the animal actually looks like. So it's a different kind of history. It's not necessarily the kind of history that you get with normal biographies, but it's still a kind of science in that you're dealing with factual material that you're finding in, you know, sometimes very, very unlikely places.
So just to make that braggadocious point clear, Mr. Hallman here has found a piece of evidence that Anarcha exists that was never found before. Yay! Which makes him a true historian. Right? He's making history by writing this book. Okay, now I'm done being... I'm sorry, I didn't feel like you had bragged enough. I was like, that's a very academic response. No, let's just brag.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, what it really boils down to is I found her. And you have that kind of, you're reading it, and, you know, you're in a library and you're looking at things and you just throw up your hands in the air and you say, I found her, you know, and I definitely have had a bunch of those moments because, you know, there were pieces all over the place and it took a lot of hard work to dig in the right spots. But that's really what it boils down to.
So essentially, you've been working on this book for like a year and some change.
Well, a couple of years, really. You know, it's. I think I went to Alabama for the first time in December of 2015, and it's been pretty much full time since then. And for me, it's one of those projects where it's just all in. You know, I quit my job and gave up my apartment, and I've been living off of my, you know, disbursements from my retirement account. And, you know, you hear about people putting projects like this on their credit cards and so on and so forth. That's what this is like for me. I just realized that in so many ways, it was a worthy project that was bringing a righteousness to that spoke to me, and it just started to seem much more like a mission than just like another writing project.
All right, so you covered my next two questions.
I know he did.
Which pretty
this
much,
is what have journalists on, like they just go ahead on and cover.
Yeah, you know, creative nonfiction, pretty much journalism, and they just like, well, so that was going to be their next question and the next one, and now you're like sitting here like,
So no. What are the other six books? Let's get the names of your other six books, the titles.
Okay, sure. I wrote a book about the chess subculture, the game chess. That book's called The Chess Artist. I wrote a book about various new religious movements in the United States called The Devil is a Gentleman. I wrote a book of short stories called The Hospital for Bad Poets. I wrote a kind of literary ethnography about various utopian experiments in history called In Utopia. I wrote a short biography biography of the novelist Henry James and his brother, the philosopher William James. And I wrote a book about their brotherhood, very short book. And I wrote a book about the novelist Nicholson Baker, who's kind of a quirky but important writer that not many people have heard of and who piqued my interest, and so I decided to write a book about him. So I've jumped around from subject to subject quite a bit.
So the hospital for poets is probably us.
We need to check in.
We probably do.
Does that hospital have spa treatments?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay, we don't. We're not going. We're not going. No, we're not.
As a narcissist, I have to sincerely ask this, not truly sincerely, but so when are you going to write your book about us?
That's coming. I recently sold the proposal for that.
There you go.
So
yeah.
I got a very nice advance.
Yeah.
I was paid very handsomely to write a book about you, and it's coming.
Thank you.
But he's
my head's getting bigger.
But no, he's just gonna reprint. And just put our name on it. Lightings.
I'm sorry.
It's called the Spa for Bad Poets.
Yes. He's gonna retitle it. It's gonna be best. It's gonna be a bestseller. It's gonna be a bestseller.
All right, I have two serious questions left, and then I promise
you're gonna be out of time.
You're out of you will be out of your hair in 2 serious questions.
Excuse me.
So I read that you were raised in Southern California, but you seem to have made a nice Eastern Coast writing career. How do those two match up, and do they improve your writing? How do those two cultures match up and improve your writing? Thank you for words, Aldi.
You're welcome.
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I grew up in Southern California, and I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and then to the University of Iowa, and then I went to Johns Hopkins University, and I've lived in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, and Virginia, and Maine, and Minnesota, and Oklahoma, and I've been a lot of places. And I think that what you don't see enough of in writers' lives these days is the cultivation of a variety of experiences. I think writers are people who experience a lot of different things and process those experiences for their readers, particularly creative nonfiction writers. And so I think that it's important that if you're rooted in one place, that you set out to try to have a wide variety of experiences. I think that's crucial, not only just to have a range of things to say and see, but also the ability to put yourself in the perspective of other people. So in addition to living in a bunch of different places, my work has caused me to do a lot of travel as well, whether it's to Europe or Africa or to Asia. And I've done quite a bit of travel, and I think that's been essential to me building a global worldview that lets me have a little bit of authority to talk about the subjects that I take on. So I think that that's just generally important.
I love this.
I know. I totally agree.
Please understand that our literary assistant is jumping for joy.
So wait, more travel for us. Now I have justification. I love it.
There you go. Yes.
I was going to say, our literary assistant always says that you need to experience life to write it. And I say that you listen to other people's stories and experience their mistakes. Because I don't want to say those same ones.
Right. I mean, I think it's both. I mean, I think that to have experiences yourself and then to listen to people, I think that, there was a friend of mine told me that the best question you can ask in an interview, or probably just a conversation, is, what next? You just need to learn to listen. And I think, don't teaches you to see, to really see the world. And that's what writers and artists do. They don't just travel, they look, they experience. And that's I think that's just, so I would say it's both.
Yeah, so we actually wrote like a really bad poem probably, or an article about that, how you just, when you talk to different people you get different viewpoints and see the world differently.
And then
Right, exactly.
But and then my second question has to do with your wonderful accomplishments with the McKnight and Guggenheim and what is it? Not foundation, it's fellowship. I am so sorry. Words are just falling. I woke up at like 6 this morning, and so like I normally wake up at like 9, so I'm out.
Yeah,
mine has checked out. It's in a hotel room. It's in a spa. But I'm here. But anyway. How did you feel about getting the fellowships, and what is a fellowship, just so we can clarify for our viewers?
Well, I think they have different criteria. Sometimes fellowships are awarded for a specific project that you take on. Other times they're awarded because of the body of work that you've already produced. The Guggenheim Fellowship is a prestigious mid-career award. And it's given based on your past production. You do propose a project, but you're not required to follow through with that project. Weirdly, they just sort of give you money for the work you've already done. And I was told the president of the Guggenheim is a guy named Edward Hirsch. He's a very famous poet and a really great guy, just in general. And when I was communicating with Ed Hirsch, and he told me that I'd gotten an award, I was thrilled. He just mentioned very much in passing, he just said, "Oh, J.C. Hallman, I read all your books as part of the process of considering my application." And the weird thing was, I believed him. I believed that they had actually, found and read everything I'd done. And I think that the Guggenheim is probably alone in the thoroughness with which they approach evaluating all of the applicants and their bodies of work.
Okay, so we now know we can't apply for that one. Okay,
no,
that's
yes.
nice.
We're not going to just take our beautiful smiles. No, we smile so beautifully. Smile. No. So we have this my last famous question that I always ask. Where can people find you?
And what next?
And what next? Well, now I did that. So now it's going to be and what next?
I'll answer the second part first. What next is just continuing with the project that I'm working on. Even though I've been working on it for a couple of years, I still feel like I'm very much at the beginning. It feels like writing 2 books at once, which I'm then going to sort of thread together into a narrative. And I think this is going to be sort of the book that I hope defines my career. And so what next is to keep going with that. And I can be found via my website, which is just jchallman just jchallman.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, then what next? I'm taking that. I'm taking that from J.C. Hallman. It's gonna be a part of my famous last question. But thank you so much for coming on. And
sure, of course.
You can always find what your ladies are doing on andwethought.com. Take a moment to go to the ladies page, look in the middle of the page, and see the charities that we proudly support.
And please, you guys, support them as well. Okay, yeah. Now you can do our final phrase.
Okay, and let's wrap it up. Wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona. And I promise you, next week, my nails will be done.
Yeah, that's a lie. And Jade, my nails are always done. Bye-bye.